And the other person was lovely, taught me a lot of lessons. Was a lovely man called Ron Goodwin. I did about 4 CDs with Ron, both as his own compositions and with the Central Band of the Royal Air Force. And Ron was a consummately wonderful writer and arranger. Did things like the Battle of Britain, 633 Squadron, Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines, 64 feature films. Ron was writing with me at the sort of tail end of his career. And it was interesting that actually he did 4 films with my dad, because my father was the head of sound at British Lion Studios, taken by Alexander Korda in 1949, when they set up Shepperton Studios. And his language, my dad's language, was absolutely appalling. And I remember I must have been about 4.5 years old that he came back, and this is my team, sort of 1949, that sort of thing. This bloody instrument, this sodding thing, can't get any sodding noise out of it. And what he was trying to do, it later transpired, was record the Harry Lime theme with this zither. And he couldn't get it to sound like a zither, apparently. It took about 2 days messing around with it to actually get the sound they wanted. So, but he recorded lots of stuff with lots of films with Ron. So I didn't realise actually at the time, but it gave us a sort of family connection all the way through. And I had the great honour to give a eulogy at Ron's funeral because of the connection, the family connection, which is very difficult to do. It's one of the most scary things to do because you realise he's such a well-loved person, and you've only got one chance to sum up the person to a lot of people that want you to sum it up. And I have to say that's an awesome responsibility for which one never gets another chance. But I hope it was all right, because everyone was left laughing at the end of it. And I think that's exactly what Ron would have liked, because he had a wicked sense of humour. And I learnt a very important lesson from him, and that's the thing we were talking about earlier, the relationships and the trust that one has between musicians and everything else. The musicians loved Ron because he had the ability, demonstrated to me at a time when EMI wanted to record one of Ron's tracks in a session I was doing with another writer at CTS, funnily enough. So Ron's arranged one, but sandwiched in between this other person's doing it. And I was with John Richards. And anyway, Ron put his thing on the stand, and the people played it faultlessly right the way through first time. And I looked at the engineer, and it was as if you'd added about another 20 players. And that was an object lesson in mind as to how the tricks of being a really good arranger really make the orchestra sound wonderful. And he also had the trick of writing the most difficult parts in the easiest keys, so he knew every single aspect of every instrument, and he'd write it in an approachable way. And this came about once, this whole sort of combination of the sort of affection that people had for him. We were at a session at CTS, and we had 5 minutes to go, and it'd been quite a big blow for everyone. And he had one track still on the stand, which was something he'd written for the Queen Mother's 80th birthday, and it was a fly-past between a Spitfire, a Lancaster and a Hurricane. And it was originally arranged for the Central Band of the Royal Air Force while this fly-past was taking place. And never been recorded, and it was on the stand. And there was no time for rehearsal at all, so with a 65-piece lineup, we just went for it. And apart from one string pickup, they played it faultlessly. I mean, that's 65 people, not a single mistake, because Ron Shillingford, the copyist, made sure Ron's arranging, we've made it approachable, all these things. And the other element that enabled us to do it, and I thought about afterwards, the fact that because the musicians really loved him, they really wanted it to work for him. And that wanting to work for somebody is something you can never buy at any price. It's something that either happens or it doesn't. It was years and years and years of always respecting the musicians. And that's really an important thing. And I learnt a lot of lessons working with Ron. That was certainly one of them. And he was a wonderful man.